time before, after the fracture kind of got better, 1 month later, everything is fine. Today, I can't even figure out that my hand was fractured a few years before because it's all fine. But in the mid of 2020, something else fractured. But this time, the difference was, I just didn't know what it was. I was just not sure what's happening. And as time passed by, I started to have some anxiety attacks. And like most of us, I just didn't know what it is. So what do you do with what you don't know is to just move on. So I continued to move on, but the episodes started to become more and more difficult. Like a child, I could not sleep at the age of 35 without the complete lights on. I could not fly, and I would take multiple number of flights prior to that. I would completely get anxious. My hands would sweat. I would just not want to travel. And when this happened, one of the biggest thing was, has anybody gone through anxiety in life? Some hands up. And the fact is, these are not enough hands up. And the reason is this, because we choose to not let it know to anybody. And I did the exact same thing, to just keep quiet. But as the episodes started to become more frequent, my child, who was just 3 years old, started crying because I would just wake up all of a sudden out of the bed. Since I thought it was disturbing him, the easiest thing I could do is to just go out and probably stay in my guest bedroom, which I did. Later did I realize that that was actually the first indication of being in depression. And the moment that happened, the first thing was I would, since all of us worked in COVID as well, right? Somebody studied, somebody worked, I was in the profession. I took up my leadership responsibility of the hub. So I moved there. And over a period of time, that is the room I stayed in for the next 2 years. I don't know how many of you understand this pain of like migraine. I would have migraine for a week. And I would just not know what's happening. At some point of time, I decided that I should probably just go ahead and share this with somebody because it was too much for me to take this. And every day we had to work. So you have your day work to do, and after your day work is completed, you just have to deal with this. You're dealing with this through the day. There are some times I would sleep on Saturday night and wake up on Monday morning. There are some times I would just not sleep for 2 days in a row. When all of these happened, one of the biggest things that happened was I just started to end up saying I should talk about this to somebody. But whom do you talk about? I can't talk about this at home because they'll get more worried about it. So I just chose to talk about this to one of my friends. And the friend gave me a suggestion that I should probably talk to the employee assistance program, like you have the program in your institute too. When I chose to talk to them, the first thing after my first meeting was they summarized the case back to me. And they told that my case was a case of helplessness and hopelessness. And very soon, I started to visit a psychiatrist. They started giving me some pills to kind of deal with the situation. And as I started to take these pills, over a period of time, I took more pills than food. And I just stayed in the same room for 2 continuous years. I would just not step out. And as I did that, one of the key was this. And why do I remember this day, while this was not the prettiest photo to put up here, is after 1 year and 1 year, 3 months, was my wife's birthday. And I showed up just on my pajamas back there, just because I was not interested in anything in life. In fact, I was telling my friend that, hey, looks like it's coming to an end. I don't think I'll make it to the next week or so. But if I don't make it, just do me a favor. Please let Rakshanda know that I love her the most. And as I did all of that, this was a day when I was at my darkest self. I wanted to see that day through because I don't want anything to happen that day. I want something to happen day after, etc. But that day should not be the day because it's her birthday. And every day from there on, I would just go back and see my son. Because I had this last wish of mine, that if I were to see something before I move on, that should be my son. But as fate would have it, the reason I'm here is that didn't happen. Right? And as it didn't happen, one of the key things was this. And I wanted to focus on the fact that while all of this is happening, your day work is on. But what happens when your hand fractures or your leg fractures? You take some time off from your work. But in a mental wellness case, you're never off work. You have to go ahead and show up on that day and perform for that particular day. And perform well, because you're in the pandemic and you had to show up every single day and do what was required to. As we did that, and this is the person that I used to speak to every single day and go back and tell that, hey, I don't think I'll wake up tomorrow morning, because it's not I want to give up on life, because my body and my mind are so exhausted that I just can't take it anymore. And there are at least 8 lakh people in the world who give up on their lives every year. I was just drifting to exactly that number. As I did that, I also got a chance to speak to a few people over a period of time. And one of them I spoke to is an expecting mother. She had such severe case of depression that she was Googling around, how long will the child survive in the womb if the mother passes away? I spoke to one of my friends who is a recent parent, and 2 years down the line, they heard that their child is suffering from autism. They felt that the world is closing on them. They were not going to anybody else. Nobody was coming to a house. They would not allow the children to play with each other. And which is where I wanted to go back and share what really causes this whole thing on mental wellness. While there are multiple reasons, one of the key ones are in terms of your genetics, hormones, your gender. But I want to focus on 2 things very importantly. The first is family history. I realized that over a period of time, just like diabetes or any heart-related ailments, actually mental wellness can also be something that you pass to a next generation. And that's not something I was ready for. I want to ensure that my child doesn't go back and take this just because I was not fine. And the most important one is in terms of our life experiences. This could be anything that happens that you're not ready for. And when that happens, it's critical for you to go back and seek for help. Now let's go back and understand a couple of these things. Can you take a guess as to how many people in the world have any form of mental wellness or anxiety disorders? Mental wellness and anxiety disorders put together is double the population of the US. It is 4 times that of the population of Russia. That is the number of people who go through it. And when people go through it so hard, it's extremely difficult for them to go back and relate to what's happening with life. But why don't people seek for help? Like, why I need not seek for help? I just realized that whom do I walk up to is the first question. Now, when your hand gets fractured, or if you're running fever, what do? You go back and tell somebody in the family that I'm running fever today, or somebody can feel it. However, in this particular case, I didn't know who to walk up and talk to. If I were to go back and tell that, hey, I'm feeling a little stressed, my family will feel even more stressed about it. And therefore, at the end, I chose to be quiet for a long period of time, till finally, I met one of my mentors, whose name is Trini, and I was telling him that I cannot take this anymore. I'm just getting exhausted, right? So he came back and told me, sir, there's one of the course that's named as Atman Ramayana. And that particular course is something that he referred to me. And then when I went to that course, and that course was in Indore, I was staying in an ashram for 2 days. And those 2 days were possibly the most important 2 days of my life. I just sat back. There was no network, there were no calls, there was nothing. All that I was doing is to spend time with myself. But one of the key takeaways of that was around the fact that vulnerability as strength. The fact that opening up about your weaknesses is not weakness, it is a strength. And as that happened, I got another best person in my life who is my life coach, Sriram. Sriram and I met there. Sriram happens to be in Hyderabad too. And we came back after the course. Once the course happened and it got closed, Sriram called me up and said that, hey, we are due to catch up, where are we? I said, and he was the first person who called me up front to ask me how am I. Sriram has been so helpful. And the first thing that he suggested me to do is this, to get back to routine. And when we were doing this, just in the midst of the time, somebody called me up and said, hey, there's a dog for adoption, would you like to have it? And I was like, for a moment, I was in Pune, and this puppy was in Hyderabad. So I said, I'd love to. And his name is Austin. And once we picked up Austin, over a period of time, I started to feel like there's a reason why I exist. He's dependent on me. He wakes me up every morning. He needs to go out for a walk. Irrespective of whether you like to go for a walk or not, he likes to go for a walk. And as he started to have his own schedule, I started to get back my schedule. I didn't know what it was doing with me. All I realized over a period of time is that it was putting me back to place. And when I spoke about this to Sriram said, get 2 dogs. I said, wasn't fun enough. He said, no, get 2 dogs, because your dog is also lonely, right? That's why we ended up having another one, whose name is Bobby. Those are 2 boys. So that's Austin to the right, that's Bobby. 2. And as time passed by, etc., we came to this point of ensuring that my sessions were going on fine, everything was fine. And that's when, but I want to go back and tell you a bit about this too. Sriram also asked me to do another thing, not just spend time with dogs, but do something more meaningful that you like the most. I just like studying for some reason. And I wanted to go back, he asked me, what do you like the most about your existence? And I said what the introduction was, which is, I like helping people. As an HR leader for this company, I do not want anybody to go through stress. If I cannot go back and change the world, but I can possibly change the life of 5,800 people that I'm responsible for. That's how much I want to take accountability of. And he said, okay, and I was in such self-doubt, I was in such low at that point of time. He went back and suggested, do this course, apply for it. Once I cracked this, after the course was done, I was still about to think that this is still an academic course. Am I practically still there? And he said, okay, then let's do one thing. Let's go back and put another thing, which is apply for the Business World 40 Under 40. You will now be with around 100,000 HR professionals who would like to apply for this one. And only 40 people get, and they should be under the age of 42. I just feel I'm not going to get it. Like let's be honest, I'm not there. And so no, the fact is this, as a coach, if you fail, it's on me. If you get it, it's on you. Let's try. He funded the fees for this course. Obviously, it's been returned. I started to take up this one, start to prepare the whole storyline around and putting through the process and going through the overall process. And then one fine day I get a call saying that I have to fly to Bangalore because I'm now 40 under 40. Thank you. But I want to just share this, that not everybody gets a Sriram. But there are a lot of people who just don't seek help because they don't know where to go to. Right? And that's one of the biggest barriers that we have. You know what's the first barrier of mental wellness? Your home. Nobody wants to go back and say that, hey, I have somebody at home who is under depression. And therefore, one of the things that I chose to do is start with this. And the reason why talking about mental wellness is among the most important things is whenever there's a conversation that happens on mental wellness, there is an uptake of number of people who go back and seek help. Again, take a guess. How many people, let's say out of 10 people, how many go back and seek any help when they're going through anxiety and mental wellness? 1? Any other guesses? 1 it is. And it's life-threatening too. From the age group of 14 to 29, the number 1 reason for death is depression leading to suicide. And therefore, it's more important to know about this. What did I gain out of Atman Ramayana is the fact that healing is within as much as fracturing was within. Nobody could see it. I went back and started to go back and write back what I was feeling. I was going back and talking about what I was feeling. I was getting some professional help of it. And the spiral started to go the other way around. I started to slightly feel better. Obviously, both my dogs made sure that I get up in the morning. I go for a walk, right? I take them for an evening walk. I start to speak to people around in my colony. And life started to get back at slight usual. But like I said, and second part of this is this, that what stops people from doing that is the fact that that ecosystem doesn't exist today. You know how many psychiatrists we have? it is at least 10 times lesser than what is the requirement at this point of time. And how much does it cost? Not everybody can afford a psychiatrist. One visit to a psychiatrist in India costs you around 3,500. One session of mine, I would pay 8,000. How many people can afford to do that? And therefore, it's the simplistic thing that we can start to do is what we're doing right now. Is if you go back and look at 4 people that are sitting in a row, there's at least 1 out of the 4 who is currently going to that mental wellness or anxiety. Now, you would not know about this because somebody's not speaking about this. They would like to keep it to themselves to the point that they completely break. The easiest thing that you can do, now we would be in 2 categories. Category 1 is that you yourself was going to something. Now, what can you do about it? Is to just go back and talk to somebody that you believe in. But the other side is very, very important. To talk about mental wellness takes courage. And when somebody is kind of giving that overall importance to you and having the trust in you, the least you can do is to not judge. And that's where we get to the end, which is anytime, whenever these events happen, the least you can start with is to converse. Provide the person space to talk. Guide the person to go to a counselor. Call the person up, check on them. My friend, whom I was referring to, would call me for continuous 2 years at 7:30 in the morning just to check if I'm awake and alive. Who does this, right? And I started to believe that okay, there's somebody else who's interested in me. There's somebody who needs me to be here. And as we go across on this one, the biggest sense was this, that I start to go back and rediscover myself, which is exactly a theme of Tattva, on elements of life. I just realized that there's a power that lies within me. I just need someone to help me get that out. And as I did that every single day, today I'm here standing with you. But I'll leave you with this couple of thoughts. As we spoke over the last close to 20 minutes of time, how many people do you think must have lost lives due to mental wellness and depression? Approximately 30. How many people do you think must have gone to counseling? Approximately 2. The delta is huge. You and I can spend some time just being humans, just listening to somebody. Thank you very much.